Hi, sorry for the delay. We had some technical difficulties with this. I'm Cambria Russell from the Federation for Children with Special Needs, and the Federation is open. We're working remotely to continue to serve you with information and resources and whatever it is you think we might be able to help you with. Today is Fact Friday for our live stream, and I'm here with the Massachusetts Statewide Family Engagement Center. The Federation is the lead agency for the Family Engagement Center, and we have lots of fantastic partners. After I'm done with this, I will put links to their projects in the comments so that you're able to see what they're doing. The Family Engagement Center is a little different project than from some of the others that we have at the Federation. I think most of you think of the Federation as a place that focuses on families of children with disabilities, but the Family Engagement Center, we're here to serve families with children with disabilities and with families who have children without disabilities. We partner with schools and community organizations to promote family engagement and authentic partnerships between schools and families. And we really try to value the things that families bring to their children's education. So this is a pretty unusual time to be thinking about family engagement. We were all thrown into this remote learning situation without a lot of preparation. And families and schools struggle with family engagement even in the best of times. So individually, we're all struggling with isolation and stress and dealing with this new remote learning situation. But I want us to think about how our response can actually be built collectively and can be co-created with families and schools working together. And so with this in mind, I want to talk for a few minutes about culturally responsive remote education. And when I say culturally responsive, I'm talking about education and learning that responds to children's cultural references and their lived experiences. And right now, those lived experiences include this COVID-19 pandemic. So what is it that we can do as both educators and families to encourage culturally responsive remote education? So there's a fantastic resource that I'm going to be drawing from in the ideas that I throw out at you today, and I will put a link to it in the comments. It's basically guidance on culturally responsive remote education from the Metropolitan Center for Research on Equity out of NYU. So you can look at that if you want more information. So educators, first we need to work on getting to know our families, and I know this is something you've already done the groundwork for. You have chatted with caregivers at family nights. You've read your kids' papers about their summer experiences. If they have an IEP, you've reviewed that. So you have a lot of information about your students already, but I want to suggest that this is a time that we need to really look specifically at certain issues and make sure we know more about our family's experiences right now. So we need to find out if our family's basic needs are being met, and if they aren't, how we can connect them to appropriate resources to help them out. And this is something that I have seen is going really well in a lot of communities in Massachusetts. I see schools connecting families to food, to internet, to emotional support services. And I think that's really great. But in addition to understanding more about our family's needs, let's think about what they want as well, and especially our kiddos. We should be asking the kids things like, what positive experiences have you had with remote learning before? What things worked for you? What things were not your favorite? And asking these learners provides them with some more engagement in their learning, gives them a little bit of power in a time when they may not feel very powerful. One example of this is my son, who's a 6th grader. One of his teachers sent home a survey, sent it to him via email or some Google mechanism, just asking what types of projects they wanted to do over the course of the next few weeks. And that's a small example of the sort of thing that I'm talking about. So in addition to knowing what our families need and what they want, we need to make sure that we're reaching out to them in multiple ways. This isn't something that can be done with just a simple email. We need to consider using social media, texting, phone calls, WhatsApp groups, videos that we would hopefully have transcription of for accessibility. There's so many ways that we can be reaching out to families right now, and we need to try to reach them from multiple sides. If you guys have ideas of other things that we can be using, then please put them in the comments so we can share them with more people. And it's also important to realize that the outreach we do has to be in multiple languages as well. This is a time where we really need to be reaching out to families on a one-to-one basis, especially to our most vulnerable families. I heard the greatest story about a teacher right now who has a list of all of her students' names, and she's putting a tally mark next to the name each time she has a contact with a child or with a family. And she's purposely thinking about her most vulnerable kids, the ones that are least able or to reach out to her, or maybe the least able to engage in learning right now. And she's trying really hard to make sure that most of her energy goes in to staying connected to the most vulnerable kids. And I think this is a great way to concentrate our resources on the kids that are most vulnerable and the families that are most vulnerable, especially at this time, rather than concentrating our resources on the kids who already have a lot of support. The last thing I want to mention about educators is we just need to be really thoughtful about the fact that COVID-19 has been racialized, and make sure that we're communicating to our students that racism in any form is inappropriate. So what about the families? Families can be equal parties in promoting culturally responsive remote education as well. And that starts with just understanding that this is a really stressful time for our kiddos, and the stress we're experiencing, they experience as well. And they need reassurance that the adults in their lives are going to be able to, or try to keep them safe as best as possible. And this goes for understanding that teachers and administrators and speech pathologists and all the other educators that we're trying to get to help our kids are experiencing the same stressors that we are. We had a couple of Facebook Lives in the past few weeks that addressed ways to help your kids with anxiety, so I suggest you go back and look at those if you can. Parents really need to create a safe space for students to be actively involved in the remote learning that their schools are providing. And if you can't do this, or you don't know how to do this, then you should be reaching out to your schools and your communities to get the assistance you need. This is a time where you can really be a co-creator of your child's education. And I want families to really embrace that you can shape your child's education, and that this is a great time to start if you haven't already been working in that area. And it's going to require that you reach out to your child's school and to their teachers. Now, for families and for educators, I think this is the most important point. Ask for help. Today, my Facebook Live wasn't working, so I asked Nancy for help. You have to ask for help from your friends, your colleagues, and from places like the Federation. This is a really tough time for all of us, and we can get through it as a community. I heard a really great story from a family recently. They have a child with medical needs who's frequently absent from school. And the family actually told me that this time of remote learning is the most connected that they have felt to their school community. And I just want to use that as a nice example of what we want to strive for in our school communities, and if working together as educators and families, we can get to that point. Now, I know a lot of great things are happening out there, and I want to hear about them. If you've had a particularly good experience in your school community with family engagement and culturally responsive remote education, then please tell me about it either in the comments here, or I've set up a Padlet, and I will put the link to the Padlet in the comments here. You can click on it and see what other people are saying works for their schools, see if you can get some ideas and contribute what you're doing as well. I want to thank you guys for spending some time with me. I'm sorry I was late getting started. I hope that you are all healthy and that you are making the best of this really difficult situation. I hope to see you again soon.